as well. Going to be talking, at least lead things off, Hall of Honor. Of course, let's talk to Gary just walked in. We'll get to the Hall of Honor moment, but kind of a spring break, but you're still working. Don't you get a day off?
Well, in some ways it is. You're busy, but it's a good busy, different busy. Instead of your phone ringing off the hook and doing some things, you can actually be working on some planning and doing some things that way, and not have nearly the distractions that you do during a normal week. So that to-do list, you actually are knocking some things off that to-do list this week,
and hopefully not adding too many things at the bottom.
That's true.
Quick, we'll get to the Hall of Honor. We keep, but I think next week or so, budgets get set. What's the Clinton school budget look like? We got to ask that question. You got you know what you're going to get from the states. You know how those things are going to shake out. What are you looking at for the budget next year? Any major cuts that are going to be on the table next week?
No. Our budget, we're in excellent shape right now in terms of where we are at. We are going to bite into a little bit of our unspent balance with settlements with SSA of 2.5%, and then we lost 40 students, so we really only received 1.37% new money. And with the new collective bargaining law, we are required, if it went to arbitration, you either give 3% or Midwest Consumer Price Index, whichever is lower. Well, given inflation right now, we're going to give all of our employee groups a minimum of a 3% raise. It makes no sense to go to arbitration when you know you're going to lose. Plus, it's the right thing to do if you're going to retain and attract employees, and particularly against the private sector. So we're going to spend more than the revenue coming in for this year. And of course, that's unsustainable to do that year after year after year. But for this year, that's what we're going to do. So we'll bite into some of our unspent balance and try to make things right with our employees to retain and attract. And we are not looking at, right now we're on a shortage, Dave, so it's hard to say we're going to pink slip people when we don't have enough people to begin with.
And also the state's shipping in some money for teacher bonuses, but this district is also going to use some money to do that for some other employees and some other employees later. How's that process work quickly?
We're allowed to use those federal ESSER funds for retaining and attracting staff, tying it to the pandemic, which a lot of this worker shortage is involved in. So the school board will need to approve it, but for all our employees for the 22-23 school year, they will be offered a signing retention bonus to work for us in 22-23. The board will have to approve that. But we're looking anywhere from $500 to $800 signing bonus for all employees.
That the meeting last night, there was some talk that some of this didn't carry over to some of the areas like the bus drivers, paraeducators, but you're going to work to do that. Is that included here? We got to do that down the road a little further.
Well, we're talking two different things here. First, we have that governor's $1,000 that was geared strictly at teachers. However, not all teachers were covered, as we found out. For example, guidance counselors, teacher leadership, nurses, and these all have the same contracts as every other teacher. They have what they call a 279 continuing contract. So the board at the last meeting did approve that anyone with those kind of contracts, 279, we would make up with ESSER funds so that anyone with a 279 contract would get that $1,000 bonus. That's applied to this year. Now, the unfortunate part is that does exclude all those classifieds, like you say, bus drivers, paraeducators, custodians were not included in the governor's proposal at all. What we're trying to do is when we do it for this upcoming year for 22-23, we're going to do it for all employees. So we're going to try to take that off. So there's two different bonuses going on. We have one right now tied to the governor, and then we have one that is really district owned that we will make that available to all employees in the district.
Got to work to keep that all straight. How you got a stack of papers explaining all that on your desk?
Yeah,
or leave it to Cindy to figure out.
Yeah, it's been interesting to do that, but fortunately, we do have the ESSER federal funds available to utilize that, and we're using ESSER funds too. We've hired 15 extra teachers to close learning gaps. We're going to use the funds to improve air quality at Whittier and at Bluff in the future. So we feel blessed that we did get those federal funds, and it's going to allow us to, and it is allowing us to do some things. And now to be able to expand that to attract and retain teachers with these signing and retention bonuses, I just feel blessed that we do have that option.
You get the Hall of Honor. You brought Denny Duerling in. He's been working on that. Maybe refresh our memories. Hall of Honor. What's that all about? We'll get into who's coming up, getting inducted, but what's that Hall of Honor all about?
Well, the Hall of Honor was a program. I was hit up, and it also goes back to my previous district at Danville, where we talked about, we tend to celebrate athletic achievements, and we do have an athletic Hall of Fame here at Clinton. But what about everybody else? What about people that go out and excel in every other area besides athletics and go on to make a difference? So I actually sat down with Dennis a few years ago to say, what would happen if we created a recognition program? And we talked about not only recognizing that these Clinton High graduates that have went on to do great things, but how they would serve as role models for our current students and how we could tie that in together. So that was the premise. The first two classes have been outstanding. This third class coming that'll be inducted on Friday, April 8th is going to fit right into those first two classes. And I think that as we talk about each one of these candidates, people will be able to see, wow, it's amazing the impact that these Clinton High School graduates have made, not just in this community, but statewide, nationwide, heck, globally in some cases.
Leave that off. Who's getting honored this year?
Well, I'll probably pass it over to Denny. He's the chairman of our committee, and then I'll talk a little bit too on these candidates as we go along.
Well, I will first want to say I might be the chairman, but Gary does a lot of the footwork in the trenches. He gets everything organized and contacts all the honorees or their families, because some of them are deceased. And we have 4 of them this year. And 2 are alive and 2 have passed. And some names you've really heard of, and some you say, wow, globally, one of them. But one of them, first of all, is Larry Davis, well-known artist on the international scene. Clinton High grad. He was student body president back in his day, 1963. Then came back and taught at Clinton High for a little bit. Then was over at the community college. He has artwork, I believe, in the White House and all sorts of places. I see him over in England and all over. And a great, I say young man, of course. If he's 2 years older than me, he's got to be young too.
Yeah, so, that's absolutely. Yeah. Some of these folks, and Denny, you've been around for, you obviously a Clinton High graduate. Do some of these names ring a bell with you?
Well, yeah, Larry does. But Larry and I talked just the other day on the phone, and we reminisced and had some stories and jokes about different things and about the community college and different things at the high school. And of course, how much it's changed since when he and I were there running through the hallways. But it's amazing that, here, just a local kid that just does amazing things and has so much he's contributed to developing kids' lives. I see in one of the people that gave a recommendation for him was Deb Stewart, who was a great artist around here. And she attributes Larry for inspiring her.
That one of you get off track of getting names, but when you do this, as you review these applicants, is it sometimes kind of surprise you, or you look at who gets nominated and what people had to say about them? Is that kind of surprising sometimes? Maybe you recognize maybe people had an impact on people maybe they didn't even know at the time, if you look back?
Well, definitely. And one of the things Gary and I always go on about, and the committee, is how many others are out there that we don't know about. And we want people to nominate people. And we look at it. We have a committee of 12 people that look at it, and we vote on it, and we have discussions. And then we come up and say, well, this is what we think is the top of the class. And if you don't make it that year, then your name still stays, and stays for 3 years. And must be a Clinton High grad. That was one of the things that some people say, well, wait a minute, so-and-so. No, they didn't graduate from Clinton High.
You mentioned Larry Davis. Who else is on there that you might know about?
I'll leave Gary to go for the other two. The other one that is kind of personal touch to me is H.L. Burkert, Dr. Burkert, which is Burkert Chiropractic. Louis Burkert, that this was his dad. It's ironic that my father went to H.L. Burkert's for chiropractic. I went to Louis for chiropractic. Louis and I are buddies. My son and Louis' son were buddies. Louis' grandson and my grandson are buddies out in Cedar Rapids, so we kind of have a connection there. And then talking to him one day, I find out about his father's military service. And his dad was captured and sent to Stalag 7A, which was the largest prisoner of war camp in Germany. He and his buddies, for 5 months, dug a tunnel to escape. But Louis' dad had a buddy there that couldn't hardly walk, so he carried him on his back, carried his buddy on his back to the safety of the American lines. And there's a book written about this by the guy that he saved, and we're having a heck of a time finding the book. But here's a guy that did the military service, went in the military right out of high school from Clinton High, where he was in wrestling, of course, wrestling with the Burkert family, and so forth and so on, student government, gets drafted or goes in the Army, and then bam, he's in a military camp. Lost in action. They didn't know for quite a while where he was. And then they find that out. Then he gets out of the service, comes back to Clinton, Iowa, develops his chiropractic practice, and then serves in the community. What's he doing in the community? I mean, he's a president of the JCs. He's a state director of the JCs, vice president of the Chamber of Commerce. And the JCs have the H.L. Burkert Award as their #1 award. So a great Clinton High grad that's, served our country and then comes back home to develop a family business and have his son and his grandchildren graduate from Clinton High.
Gary, who are the other two? He leaves it to you.
Yeah. Well, one big name is Duke Slater. And with Duke, a lot of people would attribute his football prowess, but he got nominated in this case with his judicial background in Cook County and in Chicago. He was the first African American that was on several of these courts. He was also huge in affirmative action and doing prejudice and things in that Chicago area. So one of the things we want to really highlight with him, a lot of people just gravitate to his football career at the University of Iowa and in the NFL and breaking barriers at that time. But he really had a huge impact beyond that, his football, with what he did in the judicial system in the Chicago area. And then I might as well tie this recognition in as well. There is a committee right now that's looking to put a statue of Duke Slater on the Clinton High campus. So There's been some publicity that has actually come out right now, a fundraising campaign to do that. And I think a lot of this stems back to is that this has been long overdue. And I think now that his name is actually on the Kinnick Stadium football field, it's like, okay, he's been recognized by the University of Iowa as a person that breaks barriers, but we really haven't told his story to the effect that it should have been told at Clinton High School, where he actually was a graduate of. So I've talked to his niece who lives down in Atlanta, Georgia. She'll be coming up on April 8th and kind of giving that piece of the story. And then I do believe that there may be something coming on with this statue committee. I think they're looking at trying to do something on that Saturday as well to try to promote this initiative to get a statue overlooking the football field, but also kind of a tourist attraction kind of thing that we talked about where it would be, and it's probably will be kind of by where the new parking lot is on one of those corners, that if somebody that's a tourist could actually drive by, have photo ops, really kind of landscape it, make it nice, and to do that. And then we also talked about have the current Clinton High School students walk by that statue every day.
Well, that is neat. I know at the beginning I gave a lot of credit to Gary for doing a lot, but when you come to Duke Slater, you've got the historian Bill Mashevitz. Bill Mashevitz is even acknowledged and quoted in the book that a gentleman has written about Duke Slater. And he refers to Bill, and Bill's been on the TV talking about Duke Slater. So he's done a lot of research on Duke. And again, it's the well-rounded one. He's the only one that will be in both of our halls, the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Honor, and definitely so for two different reasons.
I may ask you, Gary, maybe Denny wants to jump in here too, from a former school perspective. Having a Duke Slater being honored athletically and the Hall of Honor academically, impact-wise, is that another good example for students that that you can do both in some aspects? Sometimes people, if you're a great athlete, you don't have the academic side, and vice versa. You don't make those impacts on both areas. Is this, you can point to this and say, see, this works?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I push that all the time as an educator that, usually the people that put the biggest barriers is yourself. You say, well, I can't do that. That I can't is always, to me, the most damaging two words that you can say, because you basically have stopped yourself from doing those things. And yeah, obviously Duke had many gifts, but he also took advantage of those gifts. He developed them, and he stepped up in a time when there was a lot of barriers for African American men in both in professional sports and in the judicial system. And like I said, it goes back to the premise, being a role model for our current students today. And one of the things that I think we need to do a better job with our current student body is we need more involvement. And we need students that are not just showing up between 8:30 and 3:30, but that they actually are contributing to the school outside of classroom.
Okay. Well, we got time. Better get the fourth one in there. We better get the fourth one in here. Yeah. The fourth one is Addison Stark. He's a graduate of 2002 from Clinton High School. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I can understand.
I can't even pronounce the word.
Yeah, what he's involved in, but he is really a trendsetter in the science field. Right now, I'll just name a few things. He's currently serving on a committee on advanced thermochemical conversion to fuels and chemicals. So I'm hoping that'll lower gas prices.
Oh, yes, we talked to him about that.
Energy innovation in agricultural systems, intensification of energy conversion, reactor designs. Currently is an adjunct professor at Georgetown University, but he is really a leader in this energy and innovation and technology. I'm excited to have him come back just to talk to our kids that are currently in science. I mean, you're obviously looking at somebody that is a leader in the science field in this country, and have him as a graduate of Clinton High School. I think any student that we currently have that has interest in science, this guy is going to be very, very interesting to listen to. I've had several conversations. He's very excited to come back to Clinton. His parents still live here. And again, one of the things I have had the privilege is reaching out to these families to let them know that they've been inducted and bringing them back, and just the genuine excitement they have to come back to Clinton High School and spend a day and kind of reminisce, but also share their story with our current students. It's going to be a special day, so I really look forward. On April 8th, there will be a luncheon that's open to the community. That'll start around 11:30. Information will be coming out this upcoming week. Since it is a Friday in Lent, and Denny will appreciate this, there will be a non-meat option on the menu.
They had a great veggie lasagna last year, and it was wonderful.
So there will be a choice there, but people can call and make reservations for that. And then after that luncheon, approximately around 12:30, we'll have the induction speeches. And so we'll encourage the public will be open to that, and we'll also have some of the student body there to listen to those induction speeches by these four.
And you mentioned the students. One of the ideas I think you mentioned is letting these folks talk to the students, have an interaction with the students. How do you facilitate that? You want them to have those conversations with the students?
Well, this year we as a committee we've talked. I think this year we're going to do something different again. This is tied in with our academic awards night, which is 3.0, which we've normally run in the evening. We're thinking that we're going to actually run that during the day this year, so that those students that are part of what we used to call the 3.0 club will actually be in attendance, and there'll actually be two different sets of speeches, one directed at just those students, so that they'll have that ability to talk about their days at Clinton High School and how those days served, and kind of talk about that directly to the students. And then the second one will be more towards the community, and we think we'll gear towards some of our seniors, the actual induction speech where they can have that. So that first piece is different than what we've done in the past. We've tried to do that in the evening. We've talked as a committee, boy, we sure wish more students could hear the messages that these people are saying. So we've made a decision this year to move that into the school day. And so there will be more students that'll actually get to hear the stories.
Denny?
I'd like to just jump in here a second. We've talked earlier, and as I said, Gary and I say, and the committee, we need more people to nominate people.
How do they do that?
Well, I like to,
Next year.
Well, next year it can be on the website and so forth. But I like to tell you, our committee members,
Sure.
so that maybe you out there in the radio land hear and know these people and go up and say, hey, I have so-and-so. And they'll tell you how to do that. But on the committee is Eric Geddes, Ann Reed, J.R. Kunst, Dave Severite, Bill Mashevitz, Ryan Veenstra, Carrie Donaire, Mark Massey, Steve Cagley, of course, me and Gary.
And if somebody wants, you mentioned these are recognized. Where are they recognized in the school? Do you have a specific area, specific wall that you're hanging plaques, pictures? How's that part done? Because that's important too.
Yeah. Right now, it's in the lobby right outside of Cook Theater. Obviously, that's going to move.
Be there.
That's obviously going to move in a couple years. My goal is that we get it somewhere that'll be prominently displayed, probably in that new 3-story building that's going up right now. So, actually, I took some pictures, Dave, yesterday. I was on the second and third floor walking around now. So that building is now starting to feel like a building.
You're going to put those on the website,
Yep.
Facebook somewhere, so
Yep.
we can see the
We get to see
work?
those pictures. So,
Oh.
yep.
We'll look for those. How soon? Today? Tomorrow? Soon?
Probably soon.
Soon. All right. I thank Superintendent Gary DeLacy and Denny Duerling for coming in today on our program, talking about the Hall of Honor and other topics.